Thank you, Kesha, for joining us on our first installment of our conversation series, which will be focused on content around sports culture and lifestyle. You're a well-established stylist within the game of entertainment, sports as well. Me personally, I knew you for quite an amount of years. I feel like you're at the forefront when we think of athlete style today. So we thought it'd be just great to kind of connect with you and just kind of get your take on your experience working with athletes, as well as the popularity of fashion and sports today, and any tips you might have for those looking to excel in the industry as far as either with athletes or entertainers in general.
Me working with my client, and especially from, again, because we've known each other for a few years, and to come to this point and see where it's come, it's kind of like I premeditated for this future to happen for, especially for these athletes, and for them to kind of create a brand within themselves and start getting paid for what they're wearing, starting getting a lot of like blogs and news reports and people to really see who they are and, you know, who their style is defined as. So it's kind of like a mix of where I took it from back then when we were just tunnel walk, runways weren't a thing, you know? And so for it to now have a stamp and me being one of the pioneers on that stamp is really great. Of course, it's a few of us in here that collectively came together, and you know some of the names. And just for us to be at this point is like surreal to me of the possibilities that came from that.
That's a great mission, but what made you get into it?
So a while ago, and I feel like I always, you know, I can tell my story as much and change it at all kind of ways. I actually started out in music. So I worked with a lot of hip hop artists originally in the beginning, like Rick Ross, Young Jeezy, Jadakiss, like real Def Jam hip hop artists. And I did one of MMG's first project. And so that kind of let me put my foot in the door for, you know, men's styling and to understand how suiting and everything works. Of course, I worked with the great Neo and how particularly he was. And so by doing that, I understood men. So that's one point. Then one of my first athlete was Vernon Davis, who to this day is like my brother, my friend. I can call him, FaceTime him anytime. He was my first athlete to really understand how can we start putting them in this space. One of I can't remember the show we went to, but I remember it snowing outside, and I put those Nike, what is that, ACG boots, those big black bulky ones, and that's what he wore front row. And he wasn't looked at as any type of way or a ghetto or whatever it is. And it's kind of, I took the popularity of what he does for a living, because a lot of these designers, especially men or women, like, oh my God, my son is huge fans, my daughter is huge fans of yours. And oh, well, you know how to dress too. I never knew that. And just kind of merging those two worlds. Ferragamo was one of the ones who like embraced us really well, Ralph Lauren. So there were always designers in the beginning that did cater to this, but it was kind of bringing it out and showing them the popularity. It's kind of, I needed to sell myself. Well, what am I going to do? And so I sold my clients to the public, like, listen, this, he can do that great, but listen, we could do this over here. And it was just,
would you say that you had a plan B? Like if being a stylist, quote unquote, didn't work out for you, was music going to be your plan B?
I always like to look at it as my one plan is not going to work out, and so I have to go to plan B. It's not that. It's just I grew from one plan and went to another version of plan A. So right. It was never, if music didn't work out in sports, I didn't want to do music anymore. I didn't want to work in entertainment and, you know, in that form of entertainment. I wanted to try other things. And I came back to music. So, you know, I worked with Jeezy 2 years ago. I'm working with artists now, you know, and I still get the phone calls for a few people too. And I still love doing it. And now my worlds are merged. So when I do see it and I do work with them, they're like, yo, that's my favorite artist. Oh my God, that's my favorite play. And it's like, that's your stylist? Oh my God. You know, we share something in common. And so it's a good merge now. So I don't want to necessarily say I ran away from one thing to go to another. I just elevated plan A. So it's part 2 of plan A.
When you feel like you got your big break in sports, and what kind of made you stick with that realm more as far as like kind of focus more on athletes?
Vernon, of course, was one because it was starting to understand how it worked in the fashion space. But I think who put the stamp on it was Chris Bosh, because of how he dressed, because of his runway ton. You got to understand that big three in Florida, that started what we are looking at now. The way Bron and Chris, that started, and all three of them had all individual styles. So it was just really amazing to see that this is what they're going to do, So I think he would have put my stamp on it, but Andre also gave me the fame behind it. And then James and PJ took it to where I'm like, oh, so like I can't sit here and go, oh, this person is responsible for making me grow. Chris definitely was in the fort. Vernon made me understand it. Chris was the forefront to make me hone and mold it and make it perfect. Andre was the one like, oh, I'm gonna do this. James and PJ is the product of all of that to go, I can do this. So it's kind of like a growth and elevation from all of it. And I don't want to discount a credit from anyone not having a foot into making me or them be here.
Like, what would you say is kind of the most complex thing about styling athletes? Since you have experience styling a variety of different people of all different shapes and sizes, but when we're speaking about athletes, what makes the job kind of like, what makes it harder? Or what is kind of the most kind of difficult task in your opinion?
Nothing is difficult to me.
Okay.
But
I like that answer.
Nothing at all.
But something had to be difficult. What would it be? Not saying that's difficult for you.
No, but I'll give you a difficult scenario, what I've seen happen, but it's not difficult to me. What can happen with a stylist that have all of these talents and put them here is that now you want more clients and you want to do it more for other people. Some people will view that like, you know what, I don't really like how such and such dress, so she's not going to do a good job on me. And that doesn't necessarily speak for you, because we're just a reflection of somebody else's style and we're just molding it, So sometimes for stylists, it is hard to get another client because they're like, I don't like how he dressed. Like, she gonna do the same thing to me. And that's not always the case. That may be the case, but it's not always the case. So there would be a difficult part of it, or I just don't want to even be around her because I don't like the player she would, like those would be different portions of something that's difficult, because I can't say that, oh, trying to get clothes, I got it. I got the designer to fly me out. That's how I got clothes, so it's not that part. So there isn't a difficult part with styling all of these, huge megastars. And it's, that would be the portion that for me as a stylist outside looking in, that would be the difficult part of just things you heard a lot or experienced or whatever. That would be a difficult part. So.
And you mentioned that a lot of people may judge you based on the people that you're styling. So can you kind of walk everyone through, if you have a new client and they come to you, is it more so you enhance what they want? Or if they say, this is how I dress and you're not a fan of it, it's like, hey, let's redirect this way. What's really your role?
It's enhancing and not necessarily changing their mind, but opening their mind. It's kind of, as a kid, because I went to just different schools, and I went to one school where I was with my friends for 12 years and the world was that was it. But then for high school, I went to a whole different high school, not even with my friends. And I'm like, this is the rest of the world. And so I like it. And then now you want to play around in it. And so no one changed my mind on how I viewed the world. I just had to see it for myself with other people. And for me, I come in and go, let me show you this way, because it is a whole different world than Barney's. No, RIP, but it's a whole different world than me. There's a whole different world than Barney. These people will love you and they will do these certain things. And there's still experiences to this day that is still new to me that I can experience with someone else. Or even if I did it with these 5 other people, if I could do it with a rookie and his eyes are like, I just can't believe my favorite designer just said hi to me, so it's those type of things. Is you open up a new world to someone and you have to let them understand it. And it's a trust factor. So, with the relationships, there are compromises. So you can't necessarily go in and change a person. I might say, I don't particularly like ripped jeans. I see where you're going, but that's not my favorite. And this is why I won't do it. And so I place myself in a lot of the scenarios when I am explaining them why you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. But if you're going to do it, I like to keep everybody still there, you know, because you would look at a client style or athlete and go, oh, they definitely look like they're stylists. And I definitely don't want that to ever come across, because then you reach that difficult part that I just said about 5 minutes ago. Is like, that's what she does. You know, that's her thing. She dresses everybody the same exact thing. And you can look at all my clients, the Lala, the Serena, the Chris, the James, the PJ, the this and the Dylan Batanzas, John Carlos thing. Nobody's dressing the same, because I kept everybody within themselves and their own personality and individuality.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. And in my opinion, I feel like that part is kind of complex, just being able to kind of identify with the style everybody's going.
And it is hard. It is one of the difficult processes that I just don't experience it, but it is something that's difficult. It is 100%.
Yeah, you make it look easy.
I'm trying.
I think PJ Tucker is probably one of the best. I wouldn't say it's debatable. A lot of people love his style, but I feel like the notoriety that he's gained in the fashion and sneaker culture has been like really amazing. Like, he's pretty much his own entity outside of basketball when it comes to fashion and sneakers. So if you could kind of just share a little bit of your experience with him when it comes to kind of working with his direction.
I mean, with him, it's I always said that he's and I remember when I did start working with him, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is really intense. He's always had that, always had it, always been there, it's always been there. And we go back and forth with that a lot. I think I made a joke yesterday. I was like, yeah, you should do this. You know, in the last 3 years I worked, he was like, oh no, I've been doing this. And I'm like, the last 3 years people have noticed. And you know, like we have like, but it's just a running joke. But for him, it's always been something that he did, right? So like, let's take it as that. It's always been, and it just took me to go, listen, there's a whole part of the world that really, if they see this, it's gonna blow their minds, because nobody's ever done it like this before, or cared like this before, or seen it in this way. And that's all we did. We collaborated on styling, and a collaboration sometimes is better than being featured on a song or being hired to be the writer or whatever it is. A collab makes the song bigger, you know? And so for him and I, that's kind of how we work together. But if you look at him, and I don't know if you've ever met him and know his personality, he is that person. And that's who he always has been, that person. And he kind of, in little ways of his personality, I understand what he's trying to say and come across, because I can understand it from my perspective, because I think the same way. So with him, it was just really fine-tuning it and cleaning it up and making it perfect, rather than let's just send this out like 80% of the way. It needed to be 100%, and everybody now sees the product of that.
I agree with you. I think he definitely has become prominent within the last few years. And I think what people love about him is it's unique, and it looks like, I don't care what anybody else has on, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear.
That's his personality, and that's how he is with everything in his life. So when you do look at him, you're like, oh, well, I wonder, it's really a collaborative effort, and I really appreciate him for that, just for communicating, for bringing me in, for having me part of his ride this long. It's really been amazing.
Another elite athlete, I would say one of the most elite female athlete, Serena Williams. Can you kind of talk about your experience working with her? And I think you did something in February with her for New York Fashion Week. Right?
Yeah, I styled her fashion show. So she's had a line for maybe like 5 or 6 years now. And all my clients, they have all these projects. And with me having all these clients, I try and delve my energy into what I need to, so I could, you know, remain 100% for a lot of people. And she asked me to come on board. I did a lot of the press shoots and everything and the content leading up to it. And then she was like, hey, you know, do you think you could style my fashion show? And I'm like, oh my God, I'd be honored. And I don't just come into a job and go, this is my job and this is how it's going to work. And oh no, I'm like, all right, I'm coming in with 10 people. I'm getting this. I need this. And everyone was like, who did she bring? You know, I'm a whole different beast when you bring it in. And Serena looked, she was like, wow, you're thinking of things. You know, I started thinking of different things and moving things around. And I also had the people and the help, and it was the perfect amount. And we executed a flawless show, and everybody on her team were really amazing. That whole Serena team was really amazing to work with, down to like even the models they hired, the production, and Gretchen. Oh my God, just everybody's really good. And I'm so happy to come into it because they're like, oh, thank God we got somebody that's, you know, with us and working and really pushing it through. So that was really great. But I met Serena back in 2009. I believe I started working with her, and we did a Super Bowl she had to go with. And at the time she was injured, so she wasn't playing for like a year and a half, 2 years. So everything I had to style had a cast, and and she did everything. She did every red carpet. She did Oscars, she did Emmys, she did music, but she did it, movies, we did it all. And we were just pumping out a lot of stuff for 2 years. And with working, and especially with a lot of my clients, we developed a bond. And, you know, to this day, I watch her and how she works and everything she puts into her time. And I can't show up with anything less. So I have to do, you know, equal and the same in my realm. So, you know, working with her is just always like really great. It's a blessing. We work together really well. I did her wedding as well, you know, so I've been in certain intimate parts of her life, and especially watching her grow all these years. It's just truly been really great.
Now, question about Serena specifically. I know people go different directions with her. Either you're really showing off her strength, you know, and her muscles and things of that nature, kind of going for the more feminine look. So what do you like to do? You've done a lot with her. What direction do you really go, and how do you know that you want to go there for that event?
And it's kind of like you separating the strength and the feminine. It's kind of, it's not a separation. I often try and keep it together. I just know I do a lot of what complements her and what looks good. And she just helps execute it because her body is just like perfect. So it's taking everything that who she is, and elevating it, putting it on her. So if we're gonna do a gown, it's gonna be something super sleek that shows her body, and then her poise is just like way different. So it's taking that and taking that feminine and strength and merging it together. It's no need to separate the two when she is that feminine strength, powerful. She is, you know, like all of those things included. And so a lot of what I do is just take it and merge it together.
Well, I'm sure she appreciates that. Why y'all worked so well together, because so many people separate.
So many years and for so long. And just to watch her, you know, when she was pregnant and that whole period, and then when she got engaged and that period, and when she met her husband, you know, it's all of these points that you're part of a lot of these clients' lives, and where they have kids and all, you know, you see all of that, and you're there for most of that, and you're there in their closet or behind the scenes or with them. You're the person they're getting dressed right here. So it's always you and that person getting dressed. They'll make sure everybody else leaves the room, and it's only us. And I make sure to take care of that part. And there always have to be like a really good trust in between. You can see all the stylists that have that relationship with their clients, and like, wow, I didn't know. We have to have that relationship. And you can tell when some stylists don't have that relationship. It shows in work.
What are your thoughts, because you've experienced it, you've been a part of it, as far as the growth of athletes going overseas to Fashion Week, like in Milan and Paris. And also I see, as far as Fashion Week there and in general, have been embracing athletes more. Just on your experience during those trips overseas, what would you say has kind of been it that kind of got like designers really wanting to embrace more athletes at their shows?
To me, it's kind of, why not? We're buying $500 million of that shirt.
Okay.
Guess what I'm gonna do in my email? I'm gonna show you every single time every athlete wore that shirt and go, hey, all the sales you got in Neiman's, guess who was wearing it? That 6'8" guy that's 230 pounds or whatever it is. That's who's wearing it. And so it's like, not the guy you have in front row that makes a good look for Us Weekly to write about it. It needs to be on a bigger scale. Hey, look, my client has the cover of GQ, not that actor that you have. And it was like, I had to convince them that we are these people that are making the world go round, and that by having our presence here, we'll still continuously make the world go round in a bigger way and let other people see, and you're adding a new audience. And that was all it was. I was just very stern on my stance with it. So it's, oh, Kesha, I really like Versace. Oh, okay, we're gonna figure out how Donatella is gonna fly you out. And they're like, what? I didn't say all of that. You're on a stage, and you're already giving people this popularity. You look at the LeBron and Tom Brown. There are a lot of people in household that did not know what Tom Brown was, or knew he had men's clothing, women's clothing, dog clothing, and kids. They didn't know that, but he was able to put it on that stage and for all of us to see. So now, guess what? You're helping me more than I'm helping you. I'm just wearing my clothes, going to play a game that people know me for. I just helped you. So why wouldn't these designers bend their backs and help us out and, invite us? We need to be included just like anyone else. Just because our size is different doesn't need to mean that we're like discriminated against because we're not the ideal customer. We are the ideal customer. We're buying that out. You guys are featuring blogs, and Jamaal knows that because I talk about him in any interview I do, and it's because designers are also watching that. And they're like, oh my God, look, we were featured on More Than Stats today. So it's, all right, so now like you need to do all of this. And now I need an image to send to him and make sure, we all need to live off of this when we're watching, Diet Prada and all of these other blogs and all of these other designers all live. That's not fair to us and who we are. And so my stance is just to make it a bigger stage, and we should be here. That's all I did.
Like, I agree totally with you, and I just feel like they kind of were late to catch on as far as the influence these guys have. So, I mean, that's great to see. Like, it's become like
I wouldn't say it's late because there's always been designers that did it, but they did it as a client base. Like, okay, you spent a certain amount of my store, so you can come to this show. And I remember I had a client, he would only go to the show because he spent a certain amount, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Should just always be there. And for me, and then he had second row at that, and I remember I was like behind him, and he had second row, and it was all these other people in the front row, and for me I was like livid because and we had just started working with each other. I won't name the client. We had just started working with each other, and he was sitting second row, but the store had organized. They were like, he goes to the show every year and everything. I was like, oh, okay, perfect. So I'll, go with him. He sat at his seat assignment, and I saw it was second row. I wanted, like, scream is not even what I did. The way I laid it all out right after the show was like, if you ever invite us to anything and he's not sitting, I don't even have to be there, and he's not, don't ever, like, we won't ever support you again, because that's not how you support someone. And I always did. I remember there was an athlete sitting next to me at the Off-White show in Paris, and my client, PJ, was in front of me, and he was in the front row, and I was behind, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, because I know him from somewhere, and I'm like, okay, I know who you play for. I'm like, why are you sitting next to me? And he was like, it's where my seat assignment is. I was like, whoever was in front of me. And he needs to, like, because they need to be here, no, switch that really quick. I was like, you know that guy? He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, have him switch with you, because your face needs to be there, not him. Y'all faces make this world go round, and us in enjoyment. Look at a lot of people who can't watch the NBA, so now everybody's in their house like this, so yeah. I always make it for them, like that face that you have that's making millions of dollars and billions of dollars for all these corporations, just keep going at it and know that you're worth that value, that high in every industry. That's all it is. I'm like a little bulldog. I'm like,
I know everybody needs you in their corner. I'm like,
I'm the worst.
Right. The fashion industry, it's made a lot of strides, and it's come a long way. But there's still so much more to be done, and so many things that need to be changed. What do you love most? What would you say you love most about the fashion industry, and something that you really would love to change is on your priority list, is something that needs to?
I love that some people are open-minded and see what we see, and it's great, and the collapse that could come from it. Look at what Russell Westbrook did, so I love all of that. That's a blueprint. Exactly how he did it, from licensing his name to designing to doing this to doing all of that to eventually getting to do what you love. That's like, because we honor the gift. That's what I love. I love all of that. And that is a blueprint. And I always would say that to this day. What I don't particularly like is that it's still a Mean Girls Club. Mean Boys, Mean Girls, Mean Boys Club. And, you know, it just needs certain people to come in and kind of change things, because you still get the no's all the time, no matter who your client is. And I don't think it's fair if we're all part of a certain organization or community of stylists and athletes and everybody alike, that a lot of people should get declined and no's and stuff. But it's still, you know, there's still a tight-knit community, and they don't let everybody in. And so those are the parts that I think are unfair. That's all.
I'm going to redirect just a little bit from athletes for a second, because you mentioned earlier how you worked with Neo, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't address this. What are your thoughts on the new brimless hat that he has been wearing these days?
So I worked with New Era a lot in the last few years. And I remember they did a design style series, right? And I created a brimless hat. I'm going to try and find the photo, but so I like it. I'm with it. I don't think that a hat has to have it's something that goes on your head, and it's Neo. That's what he's known for.
So you inspired this?
No, I didn't. I'm just saying I did one like it before. And so to me, it wasn't like a foreign concept that I've never saw before. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's him. It's what he knows. You know, he always had his fedoras. He took care of his hats to the utmost every single time. So I definitely wouldn't look down on it. The only thing I probably wouldn't do is have a logo. I think that looks weird, but it's just all of the design kind of mechanism. Just change it all around. I like it. I'm with it.
So it's been around, and people need to get with it, basically.
That's all, but it's kind of, you won't wear a certain pair of Timbs or a certain pair of Uptowns or something like that, you know, because it's like, oh, we don't wear that fake version, or the mid one. You know, you only go high, and then the lows are dunks only, you know, so you don't particularly do that. And so in certain communities, that's like a faux pas. And to me, it's like, I don't know what faux pas means. So, you know, I wear white after Labor Day. I wear black and brown. There is no fashion faux pas, whatever.
Right.
Is there like a current trend you're feeling right now? Me speaking for the gentleman out there, is there a current trend that you're really into at the moment? No? Okay.
I don't really like trends. Style is just so fast, and it just moves, and it moves quicker now. So there isn't stuff for people to sit on. People look how people watch series. You watch it and then you out of it. You talk about it for those 2 days and it's done. I don't think people are investing a lot into trends nowadays. There is certain common things we see, like with the boys, and you post those, you know, like those stringy pants a lot by 99%. What's the name? Help me out, because you know it.
I think it's 99. I'm not
sure. Or the decor, or the this and the that. I think what we see is everything dropped at the same time, and people wanted something new, and everybody went out and got it. I don't think it's a particular trend that people are wearing high top sneakers anymore, because people still wear those thick McQueens, but it's not everybody is wearing the McQueens at the same time. So like a trend is something that everybody's like grabbing toward and then like letting it stick, but trends aren't sticking anymore. There really isn't no trend, because there's no right or wrong, and there's no gray areas, there's no faux pas. People are just really embracing their own individual style and individuality and stuff like that. That would be my opinion. I never liked trends. I never liked to be part of a crowd that somebody told me I should do because that's what's in. I like to do what's off, different.
Also, we know you have a new book out right now. It's a ebook, right?
It's an ebook. Actually, in about 17 minutes, it will be uploaded into physical copies by 5 p.m. Sold on Amazon and iBooks, and I just uploaded onto Gumroad. It's the essential how-to guide in styling and understanding your business. So just kind of giving a lot of like budding new stylists that are in my DMs asking me, well, how can I get into this? How can I do this? And it's just a blueprint of what I did. Again, I'm not telling you follow every footstep that you see me post on Instagram, but for this, I broke it down as if you don't have this in order, don't even approach another stylist about, oh my God, I can do this, then I'm another stylist. If you don't have that in order, then what's the point of even, you'll never be here. And I got here, I developed my business the way I needed to do. I showed my clients the way to where I can now be confident enough to share it with others, because they can't take from what they don't already have. I have it, you know? And so I'm just sharing the wealth, because there's going to be another me, you know, 5 years from now, tomorrow, or whenever it is. And it'll be really amazing to see that I inspired that person or sparked some kind of conversation in their head, like, oh, I want to do this. And that's been my DMs lately. Like, thank you. Like, I've been waiting for this, or I didn't know I had to structure my business in a certain way. Like, taxes will come bite you in the ass in 10 years if you're not doing it the right way. If you're not doing your taxes, then we're not in the same bracket. It's confusing to me, you know, so I can't even have a full conversation about, oh yeah, styling and this is what I do. You can't even, you're not here, you know? And so for me, it was a lot of, so I get really technical with that. I let, you know, how interns and certain things that stylists look for within an intern, how to keep your budgets and receipts together. I give you different templates, letter responsibilities. I did mention that earlier in this call, of how to format a letter and what it needs to say and what it looks like, things that you can ask for in your deal memo, or how much you should charge and what you should feel comfortable in charging, and just different variations, different glossaries, different words production companies uses that I've been using for years that certain people still use, that is becoming, you know, not a foreign art anymore. And I just wanted to amplify that for a lot of people that have either lost their way and was like, I don't want to style no more. It's not lucrative to me. I can't figure it out, but you have the talent and you just can't get the business aspect together, or even somebody starting out and wanting to get to where me and other stylists are. And so I just embraced that a little bit more, and also gave you little keys on how to make money in your house and things like that. So that's what essentially what it is. It is geared towards stylists. So it builds that up. But, you know, you can anybody can take it and read it and kind of go, oh, okay, that's how I structure my business. And you can be whoever you are, a painter or whatever. But it is geared towards stylists, because I wanted to give back something to them.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say before, we don't want to take up too much, but that your confidence, that's just even coming off through this interview, and everything you've been able to do and you're striving for and getting done, it's inspiring regardless. You know, I may not be a stylist, but I just want to say I commend you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I try to, you know, I feel like I'm like always like two different people to me, because I know how I am, and I just try to just push a different way to outlook things. So my interviews are always different, and I try and keep them inspiring for someone else, because I know there are a lot of people watching. I am on a stage, and I might not be as popular or as famous as my client, but, you know, I do have something to say, and I want everyone to listen every single time. You know, certain people can't get because they never had somebody that helped them. And I just want to be there to be that person, like, all right, come on, we'll just do this together. I'll figure it out. And so I just developed that, and doing things like this for people to know that I am here and people will listen.
Well, that's amazing. And like Bailey said, once again, congrats. It's amazing that you came out with this ebook. That's something that's needed, and I'm happy I asked you at the right time, because we got to kind of like touch on it.
Thank you. I appreciate it, even to just speak about it on here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was a process. It was not easy at all. The upload for the print part is not easy either. That's why E came first. I'm like, let me push this out, so I'm not holding on to it. And I kind of wanted people to really look into themselves during quarantine, because this is a time to be still and to read and to get knowledge of things and to rest and to understand where you want to take whatever is in your mind and where it needs to go. And so I wanted to push it out, and then I'll do like a little small book that'll just sit on people's coffee tables, and you could just read it and just get all the information. And I break things down to layman terms, because even when my accountant tells me things and I'm like, I can't hear that. Mm-hmm. I don't hear that. And, you know, and it just, sometimes it needs to be coming from somebody relatable. Like, hey, I don't understand it either, but this is what it means. And so I do it that way.
Well, that's awesome. So this is definitely a central guide that aspiring stylists, current stylists should definitely look into. So
That's all it is. And of course, I'm doing 8 million projects with all my clients that revolves around what I do for a living. So, you know, in the coming weeks and months, you'll see stuff from like Serena, James, PJ, Chris, everybody I work with. So that never stopped, ever.
So did it slow down at all with quarantine? Like, how did you have to adjust?
You would think it would have. And I think in the first 2 weeks, people were just trying to figure it out. But what has happened, and I realized, is like, remember that email you sent me 8 months ago when you had the idea? Let's bring that up. And I'm like,
they have time.
Because my days are so blocked with certain things, and I'm also taking time for rest, because of course in this time is like anxiety and people's minds are all over it, and I need that time to myself. And so when I'm like, can we just be prepared and schedule? And they're like, what are you doing more than yes, I'm doing a lot, even though there's nothing going on. Yes, I'm doing the most as I always am. And so yes, things have slowed down as far as me not leaving the house and getting on a plane, but as you know, like coming up with ideas and stuff, which it racks a lot of people's mind, because when we style, everything is accessibly available and we're creating things and stuff. But now we have to create all new things in our head digitally. And so that takes a lot of energy for anybody. And it's a lot just for even y'all to create something like this platform, you know, when you do one thing already, it's a lot. It's a lot, but you know what? We're here, and yes, I am busy. I try and take Friday to Mondays off.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I am. Yeah. So things have slowed down as far as traveling goes, but the work never stopped, and everybody still has a lot of stuff going on, that just pushing out different content and everything. And I'm just assisting on all of that.
Awesome. So definitely, once again, we thank you for your time.
Of course.